Have you ever really stopped to think, what does it actually take to live a happy, fulfilling, and, truly independent life as you head into your 70s, your 80s?
Yeah, what's the real secret? Not just getting by, but actually thriving in those years.
Exactly. And that fundamental question, well, that's precisely where the material we're diving into today really starts.
Okay, so this deep dive, it's based on insights from a video transcript exploring exactly that.
That's right. It looks really closely at this stage of life, trying to figure out the key ingredients for living well.
So our mission today is what? To unpack the practical tips, the maybe surprising insights from this material.
Yeah, exactly. We want to help you see what it suggests is truly essential. For keeping your dignity, finding joy, living with purpose as the years go by.
Okay, let's jump in. Where does this exploration begin?
So where does the material start? It really grounds everything in what it calls the absolute bedrock, your health and your mindset.
Okay. And is it complicated, like special diets or treatments?
Surprisingly, no. The material makes a really strong point that the secret isn't hidden in expensive stuff or, complex routines.
So where is it then?
It's found in the simple, everyday choices, the
Yeah.
small things.
Right. And good health is framed as more than just not being sick.
Oh, definitely. It's described as the greatest gift, really, because it directly enables independence.
How so? Like practical examples.
Well, think about it being able to cook your own meals, manage your own home, even having the energy to genuinely help out your kids if they need it.
Mm-hmm. There's a certain pride in that, isn't there? That self-sufficiency.
A huge value. And the material's realistic, too. It acknowledges, physical fitness will decline. That's just part of aging.
But it doesn't have to define your life.
Exactly. That's the powerful insight. And
Yeah.
decline doesn't automatically dictate the quality of your life.
Okay, so that brings us to the mindset piece. How important is that?
Crucial, according to this. It heavily emphasizes cultivating a good mood, a positive outlook,
Which means,
actively choosing to see the good, and maybe even more importantly, actively letting go of anger, resentment, that kind of negativity.
it actually calls a joyful heart powerful medicine. Is that right?
Yeah, not just a nice feeling, but something that actively eases stress, lifts those worries that can physically drag you down.
That's interesting. And it links health to relationships too. How does that work?
Well, it points out that poor health isn't just tough on you, it can be a heavy burden on loved ones.
Right, potentially leading to misunderstandings or even loneliness if your needs aren't easily met.
Exactly. So maintaining vitality, it suggests, comes from a whole mix. Nurturing happiness, eating well, sleeping soundly, getting rest, keeping an open mind.
And specifically avoiding anger and getting regular exercise. It's holistic.
It really is. And this foundation, this health and mindset piece, is what allows you to live comfortably without constantly depending on others.
So you can stay active, keep a sense of purpose.
And interestingly, the material points out this self-sufficiency actually strengthens relationships with your kids. They appreciate your independence.
That makes sense. So that positive attitude really is like your best internal medicine.
That's how it's presented. It reduces stress, combats anger, and frees you up to find joy in, simple everyday things.
A happy heart and a healthy body, they go hand in hand, according to this source.
Precisely. Building that strong internal base is key. But then the material shifts focus a bit, looking outward at challenges.
And one big one is,
Staying vigilant, specifically against scams.
yes, that's a huge concern. The material highlights that vulnerability can increase with age, right? Even with wisdom.
Exactly. Moments of maybe confusion can make people targets. Financial scams, dodgy health products, risking savings, security, everything.
I must talk about the tactics they use, because they can be quite clever, unfortunately.
Oh, it does. It points out how they often prey on trust, on emotions. They might start with things that seem nice.
Like what? Free gifts, offers of emotional care.
Yeah, or inviting people to regular gatherings, gratitude events, free health checks, expert consultations.
And sometimes they organize things outside official locations, like tours or events.
Right. The material flags that as a tactic. To build false intimacy, lower your guard.
Mm-hmm.
All to get personal information.
Health details, income, what you might be worried about.
And then they use that intel to pressure you to buy stuff that's often useless, overpriced, maybe even harmful, all disguised as concern.
So the defense, what does it recommend?
Basically, relentless caution, staying informed. It's a clear warning.
Hmm.
If it sounds too good to be true, especially if it's pushed outside normal, legitimate channels.
Be incredibly wary. Yeah.
And here's an interesting point it makes about sharpness. It actually suggests it's okay sometimes to pretend to be a bit confused.
Really? Why?
Maybe as a way to deflect pressure or get more information if you're suspicious.
Ah, I see. A defensive tactic.
And this is critical. The material stresses you must never let yourself be genuinely confused about what's happening or what's being asked.
Your actual internal clarity, your understanding, that's your real shield.
Exactly. That sharpness is your best defense.
That's a really powerful distinction. So educate yourself on the tactics.
And share that knowledge. The material suggests telling friends, neighbors, creating a vigilant network, looking out for each other.
Another layer of protection. Makes sense.
Absolutely. Vigilance protects your well-being, your resources. And speaking of resources, the material really digs into the value of financial self-sufficiency later in life.
Right. And this isn't just about being rich, is it? It connects it to something deeper.
Much deeper. It's directly linked to preserving dignity, autonomy, that fundamental freedom to make your own choices about how you live based on your values, not someone else's budget or rules.
And it takes pressure off your kids too, right? Who probably have their own financial stresses.
A huge factor. Maintaining your independence strengthens your self-worth, allows you to still contribute, support family, community, instead of feeling like a drain.
Does it mention specifics? Like what makes a real difference financially?
Yes, very concrete things. Having a pension and savings, described as a total game changer for peace of mind, freedom.
And owning your home.
Adds another crucial layer: security, freedom, autonomy. The material highlights how it avoids that awful feeling of being a guest in someone else's space or having to tiptoe around.
Yeah, that loss of control would be hard.
And wise financial management isn't just for the newly retired. The material reminds us you might have decades still ahead.
So planning is key for the long haul and also for avoiding family friction.
Critically important, yes.
Yeah.
Preventing those potential money conflicts that can just sour everything.
So at its core, this financial piece isn't just survival.
No, it's framed as preserving dignity and fostering genuinely harmonious family relationships, built on respect, not dependency.
Right. When parents can manage financially, it removes a massive potential stressor, allows relationships to be about, well, relationship.
Exactly. Which is a nice transition, actually, from financial independence to our social lives, our families. The material really emphasizes open, conflict-free communication, especially with kids and grandkids.
Okay. But it acknowledges challenges there too.
It does. It recognizes that sometimes older folks might unintentionally push people away, maybe by dwelling only on the distant past or talking about things the younger generation just doesn't connect with.
Or maybe fear of being irrelevant or just plain stubbornness can get in the way.
All of that. It can hinder real connection.
So what's the key then, according to the material? How do you bridge that gap?
Here's where it gets really insightful. It suggests the answer isn't just more talking. It's adaptability, empathy.
Understanding the other person's world.
Yes. And realizing that building strong, respected relationships later in life needs more than just reminiscing.
It actually asks a pretty direct question, doesn't it? Something like, why should grandchildren treat you well?
It does. It's a bit provocative. But the answer is compelling. It suggests you earn that respect, you maintain your value by offering something valuable now, in the present.
Which is?
Emotional support, being a listening ear when they're going through tough times.
Offering encouragement, maybe wisdom that feels relevant to their lives, not just yours.
Exactly. Showing you value their experiences. That builds trust, mutual respect.
So the focus is on being a stable, supportive presence today, not just expecting respect based on age or past roles.
That's the idea. And that, the material suggests, leads to better relationships and a more fulfilling life for everyone. Your value is current.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. And staying on relationships, the material talks about long-term partnerships too, ones that have really lasted. Yes, it delves into the profound, almost unique value of those connections, the ones that have truly stood the test of time.
It shares an anecdote, right? About a woman named Lon.
Yes, in her 70s, caring for her spouse who needs a lot of help. And despite how physically demanding it is, the material notes she feels this deep pride in doing it.
And the insight is that her pride isn't just about duty.
No, it comes from that incredibly deep emotional connection, that shared history built over decades. It's support that goes way beyond just tasks.
The spouse's presence itself, the world they built together.
Yeah.
That's invaluable.
Hugely valuable, a source of meaning. And the material contrasts this with unions formed much later in life.
Saying that while they offer companionship, maybe convenience.
They often lack that specific depth of emotional intimacy, the kind forged through years of shared struggles, joys, raising kids, weathering storms together.
It mentions another story, a neighbor who remarried.
Yeah, after losing his first wife. And this second marriage is described as being more about convenience sharing costs, not being alone.
But lacking the warmth, the deep understanding.
Exactly, lacking that fulfillment he had in his first long marriage.
So the takeaway is quite poignant.
Very. That the richness of a relationship grown over many, many years is just unique, irreplaceable. It offers a happiness that convenience-based unions, while perhaps practical, often can't match.
So cherishing those long-term bonds is vital.
Immensely important, according to this material.
Okay, shifting gears a bit from personal bonds to staying sharp in a different way. The material argues strongly for continuous learning, staying curious.
Yes, and it frames this not just as a nice to have, but as essential for navigating the world today and crucially for keeping your independence and confidence.
Because the world changes so fast, right? Technology.
Exactly. It highlights that challenge, feeling lost or left behind by smartphones, online banking, all of it.
So the solution isn't just accepting that.
Not at all. The material proposes a simple but vital approach, a willingness to learn. Keep learning new skills.
Not necessarily academic stuff.
No, not necessarily degrees. More like being open to figuring out that new app, understanding what's happening in the news, picking up hobbies that engage your brain. It keeps you mentally active, keeps your spirit feeling younger.
And there's an emphasis on practical skills.
Very much so. Learning to use a smartphone, effectively finding info, paying bills securely online, managing appointments, even exploring interests online that's presented as a total game changer for daily independence. So it's about practical knowledge making life smoother, less reliance on asking for help.
Precisely. Staying diligent about learning those functional everyday skills is key to navigating modern life with, ease and confidence.
Don't let the world leave you feeling stranded. Makes sense.
Yeah, and kind of complementing that idea of staying engaged,
Yeah.
the material talks about hobbies and passions, how there's secrets to staying full of life.
It calls them lifelines, which I think is a great word for it. They give purpose beyond just daily chores, right?
Right. They inject joy, keep the mind sharp, obviously contribute to physical well-being, reduce stress, promote health overall.
And they foster social connections, too. Help maintain a positive outlook.
Definitely. And the material is broad about what counts, whatever suits you. Chess, painting, singing, fishing.
Or even more modern things, like computer games, blogging.
Absolutely. Puzzles, anything that engages you. And it pushes back against this idea that older people should somehow get more serious.
How so?
It offers this really powerful counter idea. Being a playful, lighthearted elder is actually a great gift to yourself and others.
Letting go of old burdens, trying things you hesitated about before.
Exactly. Feeling free to explore. And embracing that playfulness helps rediscover confidence, joy.
And get this, the material actually mentions studies linking a playful attitude to living longer.
Wow. Really? How does that work?
Well, it connects back to practical benefits. Playful activities, strategy, movement, creativity, they train the brain, can help circulation, lung capacity.
And they combat loneliness, especially group activities.
For sure. It even gives examples of, famous long-lived people who kept that playful spirit.
Like Isaac Newton, blowing soap bubbles.
Apparently. And a more recent economist, Eugene Yuan, who got into gaming and blogging, calling himself a master of playing.
That's fantastic. So hobbies aren't just killing time.
No, the material frames them as vital for a fulfilled life, actively pushing back against decline, fostering growth, happiness, connection.
Okay, one last major theme the material explores. It talks about something it calls a rare but incredibly valuable quality.
Which is?
Maintaining a broad and open heart.
Interesting. What does that mean in practice? Does it challenge stereotypes about aging?
It does, directly.
Yes.
It challenges that notion that getting older automatically means becoming small-minded or stubborn or unreasonable.
So what does an open-hearted older person look like, according to this material?
They're not someone who's envious of others or always putting down their kids' choices or constantly complaining about money or fretting endlessly about the future.
So a calmer approach.
Much calmer. They live treating each day, each moment as a gift. They genuinely see the present as the best time.
Which involves acceptance.
Acceptance, yes. Of imperfections in others, in their own situation. Finding peace without constantly comparing or longing for what's missing. approaching life with contentment, a broad perspective that lets you live more fully, peacefully.
That's the idea, actively letting go of needless worries, embracing the richness of right now.
The material calls this a powerful lesson for everyone, not just older adults.
Yeah, a way to rethink aging gracefully, not as just fading away, but as maybe a culmination. Letting go of anxieties, finding contentment in simple, everyday things.
Living with acceptance and grace. That's a lovely thought.
It really is.
So we pull all these different threads together, this deep dive into the material. It really paints a picture, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A multifaceted approach to thriving independently in later life.
Yeah, it really does. It starts with that internal foundation health and that positive letting go mindset.
Then moves outward, protecting yourself by staying vigilant against scams.
Securing your financial independence, which is really about dignity and freedom.
Nurturing family relationships through present-day connection and empathy, not just past roles.
Valuing those deep, irreplaceable long-term partnerships.
Committing to lifelong learning, especially those practical skills for today's world.
Embracing hobbies and playfulness, seeing them as vital, not trivial.
And finally, cultivating that broad, open heart. Finding peace in the present.
It all works together.
We've taken this deep dive into the material you shared to try and give you, the listener, a kind of shortcut to understanding these pillars it suggests are key.
Yeah, hopefully exploring these insights has sparked some, aha moments, or maybe highlighted something practical for you to focus on.
Because the material really leaves us with this powerful final thought, the secret to a joyful, self-sufficient later life. It's not in grand gestures or expensive things.
No, it seems to boil down to these simple but profound daily choices and the internal state, the mindset you choose to cultivate.
It's a journey, really. Prioritizing well-being, protecting what you have, connecting deeply, staying engaged, finding joy, and approaching life with that open, grateful heart.
That sums it up well.
So, thinking about everything we've unpacked from this material, what stands out most to you? What's one simple choice, maybe, that you could make or adjust today that might contribute towards that more fulfilling, independent tomorrow it describes?
Definitely something worth reflecting on as you move forward from here.